Residents are being evacuated as several areas down below the dam are being flooded. Newzroom Afrika's Ziniko Mhlaba is at the Vaal Dam and joins us now. Ziniko, good morning to you. What is most pressing, I would think, for that community is whether or not they were warned in good time that these sluice gates are going to be opened, because in all probability, their areas of residence are going to be flooded. Was that done?
Yes, Koli, according to the communications team of the Department of Water and Sanitation, they do believe that they did enough awareness and also sent enough warnings to different communities along the Vaal River, especially those down this particular river in terms of the stream. I'm going to step out of shot, Koli. We're actually at the Vaal Dam, where actually the gates are centered or based at. So the picture that you see right now is the general view of the actual Vaal Dam. You can see, I'm not sure if my colleague Leander can pan to his left so that you can see that small popping up still there. That's the sign that tells you the capacity of the actual capacity of the dam. So as you can see that you can only see about 500 meters of it. That's very, very deep in. So the fact that you can only see that small portion of it popping up above the water, that simply means that the dam has reached its full capacity. There's absolutely nothing now that the department could have done differently except releasing more water to flow downstream. I understand that actually there are two rivers, Oli, which are flowing into this particular dam. One is coming all the way from Mpumalanga, the Emelo side, and one is coming all the way from the Free State Harrismith side. Remember, the source of that river stands at the Harrismith Mountains in the Eastern Cape. So those two rivers, they come in, they flow downstream and come inside this particular dam. So the level of water that we are talking about, we've been talking about over the past 2 days, is actually a water that is coming from those two rivers, which they match up at this particular point, which is the Vaal Dam. I understand that even after that flow coming into the Vaal River, there are also other dams which will be affected by the amount of water that's coming out of this. I'm talking about some dams in Bloemhof, some dams in Uppington. So the impact is not just going to be felt here along the Vaal area, but it's also going to be felt down the river stream into other provinces. So right now, I'm going to bring in Mr. Menas, who's one of the Director Generals in the Department of Water and Sanitation, so that he can give us a background of how we got to this particular point. Give us a background of how did we get to this point where you had to open more gates in this particular dam. How was the situation and where are we now currently?
Yeah, of course, the department is monitoring the inflow, as you correctly stated, of the different rivers that actually feeds into this dam that's here behind us. And that actually informs how we should actually manage, because this dam doesn't have an uncontrolled spillway. So we have to open gates to allow the water to actually go out. So we look at in terms of what is coming in. And whilst the primary purpose of this dam is to store water, it also has a secondary function, which is to do flood attenuation. So if you look at the surface of this dam behind us, it's a very shallow dam, so it's a very big surface. It's about 320 kilometers square in terms of the surface that you have behind us. If you take that in comparison to the Sterkfontein Dam, which have the same capacity of more or less in terms of 2.5 billion cubic meters that it can store, the Sterkfontein's area is 69 kilometers square. So you actually sit with a situation where this surface of this dam allow a lot of the flood that comes in to be dissipated a little bit, and then we discharge at this point in time less than what we're receiving. So we're receiving about 3,000 cubic meters per second, and we're discharging at this point in time 2,300 cubic meters per second. And as you can see here next to us, we have some of the gates that is taken out of the dam wall to allow the water to go through, 12 of them in total.
Right. So talking about the dam wall, I'm not sure if you mind walking us into the actual gate so that we can give viewers that particular sense. So right now, we're going to walk a bit so that we can give viewers a sense of the visuals, what is it that we talk about when we talk about gates being open? So I'm going to ask my colleague Luyanda to give you those visuals so that Mr. Menas can take us through what we see here. Mr. Menas, these are the gates. Talk to us about how do you determine how many gates must be opened and what informs that decision?
Okay, in terms of each gate has a certain capacity that it can allow through. As you can see on the visual now, that all of these gates, and 12 of them, in the middle we have 9 open, and all of them as they are open, they actually equate to the total of 2,300 cubic meters per second. We have 2 open on the far end and 1 open on the other far end on the right-hand bank, which actually then in total makes it 12 gates in total. So these are hydrologically determined to make sure that we safeguard the structure as well, because if we don't open these gates, then the dam wall and its structure, its integrity could be compromised, and that is from a dam safety perspective as well, together with environmental releases. We have to balance it in that way. So it's basically a hydrological balancing act.
Yeah. So talk to us about the safety of the structure and its capabilities of withstanding the pressure. Because look at these visuals, you can see the current. It's very, very strong. So in terms of the security of these walls, how strong are these walls, and how much more pressure can they take from this in water that's coming in on the other side, where we're giving those visuals, the visuals of the dam up until to this point where they're exiting into the rest of the stream. So how strong are these walls? How safe are we right now?
Well, we have dam safety regulations that compels us to do our dam safety inspections and evaluations, and according to which we then also do our rehabilitation projects as we have to go along. So at this point in time, I can assure you that this structure, as we have it, is quite safe. And to answer your question regarding the pressure it can take, in total we have 60 gates on this wall, and we have another additional 8 sleeve valves to allow the water to go out. So we only have 12 out of the 60 open at this point in time. So we have an additional capacity to actually discharge much more than what we currently are taking down the river.
All right. Mr. Manas, let's walk towards this side. I'm going to ask my colleague, let's walk towards this side now so that we can talk about the possible impact on the communities located down this stream. We are at the Vaal Dam right now. The water is flowing out into the rest of the actual stream itself, the Vaal River. How much more can this particular stream itself take without it overflowing into communities stationed just along the riverbanks?
Well, at this point in time, we are looking at a vicinity of a 1 in 20-year flood level. We are encouraging communities downstream and local authorities to ensure that we don't exceed the 1 in 100-year flood line as far as the building of structures are concerned. So we need to make sure that everybody that is building around a river, that even though it's very nice to stay close to a river, but not to erect any permanent structures within the 1 in 100-year flood line. Unfortunately, as you look downstream here, is that we do have this water already has an impact on some of the communities living close to the river. There has been some damage as it goes along, but as you can see that we have 12 gates open, and our information that we have at this point in time indicates that we might not go higher than 12 gates, but this is a fluid situation, so we will look at a system and see if we can manage the 12, and then rather focus our current attention to Bloemhof Dam, which is downstream, because remember there are other tributaries that comes into the system that is also now affecting Bloemhof Dam, and we have to look at that perspective as well.
I mean, before we get to the impact of this outpouring water from this Vaal Dam into the other dams, as you just mentioned, that there's a Bloemhof Dam as well that is likely going to feel the impact of this. Talk to us about the bridge we see there. I'm going to ask my colleague Uluyanda to give us the visuals of the people who are stationed there by that bridge there. How safe is that particular bridge? Because looking at where we are and the actual capacity of that bridge, I wonder if it's absolutely safe for them to be standing there. Obviously, it's beautiful visuals. They want to take pictures, but how safe are the bridges across this particular river throughout its streamline?
That bridge is very safe. If you will go close by today, you won't see it, but there was another bridge many years ago that crossed there, and obviously it was inadequate and unsafe. So that bridge is designed according to the civil engineering standards for flood conditions. And as you can see, there's enough freeboard, enough space for the water to go through. So we have good confidence that structure is in good condition. But obviously the department doesn't take responsibility for that. That would be the Department of Transport. But we are confident that that bridge is in a good condition.
Right. From what you've gathered so far in terms of your information and data and observing and monitoring the situation, how far more water are you likely going to be releasing from this particular dam? And in a worst case scenario, what would be the likely effect, the likely impact? Should you need to open more gates? How much capacity can you handle?
Well, at this point in time, we are looking up until the end of this day because the situation is quite fluid. But the information that we have at hand, there seems to be that there's no reason to consider the further opening of any more gates at this point in time. But we are doing 6-hourly reviews at it, and then we will take further decisions based on that. But with the information we have at hand at this point in time, the likelihood of increasing us is not so much. We are also looking at a means of decreasing, but we also have to look downstream what the capacity of intake could be. So we will use the flood attenuation capacity here at the Vaal Dam to the maximum maximum potential. But our hydrological colleagues, they are full out busy running the models to actually make those determinations.
All right, sir. Talk to us about the communication you've done. Do you believe you've done enough to inform the communities along the Vaal River? I'm talking about the communities in Vanderbijl Park, in Sasolburg, all the way to Paris in the Free State. How much awareness have you done to make sure that you inform those communities about the project that you are doing, which is actually releasing more water into the Vaal River itself? Do you think you've done enough? And what has been the response from those communities?
Well, we follow our communications protocols normally when we have these releases. So we follow that as we used to do. So we inform the local authorities and the users that we have different groups that these communications are going out. So our water control officers take a responsibility here at the dam as well. So I've monitored that myself this morning to see have the communication gone out, and we have daily communication that is going out to our users downstream. There have been certain responses that they've been some people might not have been informed in time, and we are investigating why not. Because according to our beliefs is that according to the protocols we have followed, and we will further look into that.
All right. Lastly, sir, give us a sense of how the situation is across the country in terms of dam levels. Besides the Vaal Dam, how is the situation like in other provinces? I understand that Eastern Cape had its own water dam level, especially in the Nelson Mandela Bay area. How's the situation overall in the country, and which areas need serious attention and focus from your perspective in terms of dam levels, but also awareness?
Well, the majority of the country at this point in time have dams that are more than 100% full, which means they are spilling. In the Limpopo province, they are spilling. In KZN, in Mpumalanga, we are spilling dams. Our focus of concern in terms of flow would be in the Northern Cape now, because the confluence of the Vaal, water that you see leaving here, is going to be in a confluence with the Orange River, which is also in flood, because we have both the Farib Dam as well as the Van der Kloof Dam also spilling at this point in time. But in the Eastern Cape and KZN, we also have dams spilling except for Nelson Mandela Bay. We have Koga Dam at about 12%, and we have Mpofu Dam at about 7%, less than 7%.
That's very bad. Sorry to cut you, but that's very bad. Can you explain what could be the reasons why that area of Nelson Mandela Bay is not experiencing the same overflow of dams? What's the situation? What could be scientific reasons behind that?
Well, the scientific reasons as to why the rain is not falling there, I can't give you, but what I understand is that there's a protracted drought in that area, and the rainfall is below average, and is continued to do so. We heard that it started raining there over the weekend as well, and we hope that that rainfall is going to accumulate into runoff into those dams that I just mentioned you. But up until today, they haven't received the benefit of what the rest of the country has received as far as the flood conditions are concerned.
All right. Very lastly, sir, I said the last time, but very lastly, give us areas down this stream. If you can maybe name them by heart, if you know them. I understand Van der Bijl Park, I understand Sasolburg. Which other areas along this Vaal River are likely going to be affected or should really take some serious precautions?
Well, I will focus on the boundary between Northwest and Free State on the Vaal River side, because closer to the Christiana Bloemhof area, they will have soil and river conditions there, right up onto Warrington. And then Douglas obviously will be my concern because of the confluence that's there, as I told you. And then down to Uppington, where we also have the islands in the Orange River. There will also be some high level flowing. We know that there's been some project in the past to ensure that the river and flood conditions are diverted around the islands, but we have flow conditions that might surpass 4,000 cubic meters per second in that area, and we trust that the local authorities are taking the necessary precautions to actually safeguard the livelihoods of those there in that area.
Sir, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Good luck with all your efforts. Director General of the Department of Water and Sanitation, responsible for infrastructure. This is where we are at the Val Dam, and only fascinating stuff we've been told here. But also, it seems as if the situation here is very, very serious. But the DG was telling us that they've opened only about just under 12 floodgates, and they have the capacity or they have the opportunity, or they can actually go up to 60 gates they can open here. So it's as if things are not so bad or not so hectic in terms of the amount of water they can allow to flow out of this particular very dam. It will be very interesting, Polly, to get a sense of how the communities along these river banks, how much information do they have, and what measures have they taken from their side to ensure that they protect themselves, they protect their infrastructure. The DG was alluding to the fact that they always encourage people who are located along the river banks not to erect permanent infrastructure houses. But we'll see, I think throughout the day and the afternoon, we'll see if that is really the case. It will also be interesting to get a sense from the farming communities along these river banks. How prepared are they for this particular thing? Maybe in one day or in the near future, we'll be able to follow this stream, to follow this water into the other provinces such as the Northwest, especially the Bloemhof area along the Perry side. So that's the situation like But we'll try to move into a different location now as we try to follow the flow of this water into the Vaal areas, especially along the communities.
Ziniko Mhlaba, thank you very much for that comprehensive update live for us at the Vaal Dam.